Customer statements in QuickBooks Online. If you are a business owner, you may need to use customer statements to provide gentle reminders to your customers that they have upcoming payments or outstanding balances. And if you're a bookkeeper, you may need to generate a customer statement for transparency in the business. Maybe the business owner requests it, who knows why, but QuickBooks has 3 standard customer statements. They're super useful. They're great to know how to use, but they are a little bit tricky. So in this video, I'm going to go over the 3 different types, and we'll actually generate some, and I'll show you some tips and tricks as well. Are you ready? Let's get into it. I'm here in QuickBooks Online Test Drive account, the sample company. This is already pre-populated with customers, so I'm going to go to Customers here. By the way, QuickBooks is rolling out new versions of QuickBooks Online, so your version may look a little bit different, but it will function exactly the same, okay? You just need to go to the customer area. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and play with Amy's Bird Sanctuary as a customer. All right, here we go. Now, we can see that, yep, thanks for the tips. We can see that there are already some transactions in here. Now, I want you to note something. First of all, the balance. Here, we've got an open balance. Here are the transactions. We've got an invoice. This is from February. We've got some payments. We've got invoices. Here's a credit memo. Here's a time charge. Note this, $375 time charge. And this one right here is the interesting one, partially paid invoice. Okay, cool. So this is where our balance is coming from. And that's where we see $239 still outstanding because this one hasn't been completely paid. All right, great. Let's go now to the statements area. We will generate customer statements for this customer, for Amy. We don't have any here. We can see that. Come up here to New Transaction, big green button. Let's go to statement. Okay. Now, statement date. Today is the 10th, okay? And there are 3 different types. I want you to note the date because there's a trick with this that I want you to be aware of, but we'll get to that in a minute. Statement type, okay? 3 types: balance forward, open item, and transaction statement. I think I'll just go ahead and generate each report and explain as we go along, okay? First of all, balance forward. Let's start with this one. You're going to select the period, okay? The period for this report. But everything that occurred before that report resulted in a balance. And that balance is going to be carried forward onto our balance forward customer statement. Let's go ahead and choose the 1st of last month, and we will end it the 31st of last month. If I can select the right date. Come on, big boy, let's go. April 30th. There we go. Okay, great. Now, you can actually choose multiple customers here, which is why you have the check option. We're just going to do Amy for now. Instead of doing save and send, look, if you did save and send, it would take you to a preview page where you could preview the statement before sending it to the customer. We're not going to do that right now, but that's very self-explanatory. I'm sure you can figure it out. We'll just do save for now. Saved successfully. Let's close this. All right, let me make sure we are recording. And we are. I get paranoid about that. All right, here we go. We see the statement. This is the one we just made in the customer statements area for Amy. If we click on, before we even click on it, you can see some of the info. Here's the day that the statement was produced, or this is the statement date that we selected. It's got a number. We've got the customer. We've got the period start date and the period end date. We've got the statement type, balance forward. You could print it, or you could send it to someone if you want. Okay, for now, let's click it. Let's go check it out. Okay, here's that balance forward that I was talking about. And as you can see, because our statement period starts on the 1st of April, this balance is being carried forward as of the 31st of March, the day before, right? All right, cool. Now, what do we see on this statement? You know what I think would be even better than this? First of all, let's pause for a minute. I'll show you how to delete statements. There's only one way to do it. You need to do it right here. When you're in the statement, you can choose delete. There's no way that I've found in QuickBooks Online to bulk delete things, so you've got to do them one by one. But let's do a balance forward, in fact, from the start of the year, okay? I'm going to go here, start of the year, until now. How about that? How about until today? Let's go ahead and save this. This shows how fast you can make these customer statements. There we have a brand new balance forward. All right, great. This is cool. So we saw in the last one it was carrying forward a balance that we had from prior to April, but this one, there is no balance being carried forward before this year. There just wasn't any activity. All right, cool. Now, what do we see and what do we not see on this balance forward customer statement? We see the invoices, we see payments, we see credit memos. What do we not see? We don't see that time entry. Okay, we're going to get into this. Also, we've got our balance due right here. That was the open balance of the customer, which we already saw. And we see how we got to that balance. So we started at 0 at the beginning of the year. We invoiced for $205. Now, Amy claimed that as part of this invoice, the pest control component did not occur. So she only paid $105 of this $205 invoice. And so later, because we still had a $100 outstanding balance that Amy was never going to pay, a credit memo for $100 was issued to clear out that balance. See, so this is great. We're seeing the story of the customer's transactions with us. Now, between when that one occurred, between that payment and this credit memo being issued, another invoice was issued. And that is why after this, we have the $459 outstanding invoice from right here. Now then, what happened? We actually invoiced again for another invoice, $108. That one got paid off. And then a payment of $220 that went against this invoice right here cleared out part of the balance, but not all of it. And we now are sitting at $239. Just imagine how hard this would be to explain without a nice statement, to the customer saying, why do I owe money? This is very clear. But one thing, again, that we don't see on here is that time entry. We won't see things that have not been invoiced or paid yet. Okay? I'll show you an example of what I mean. But for now, just note as well, current is 0. Even though we have this balance up here, the current is 0 because the part of this balance here, in this case, all of it, it's overdue because it's related to this invoice right here. And we are past the due date for this one, right? And that's why this is overdue. If we had issued an invoice and we were still within the terms, let's just say the 30-day terms of that invoice and it was outstanding, we would see it right here in current. This was kind of confusing if you don't have someone to explain it. So I hope this is helpful to you. That's why the older the invoices, the older invoices will also show here, okay, in these different areas. Total received, this is also a little bit confusing. We are in the test drive sample company. That is why there's no total received. But in your live account, if you have received payments, this total will be populated, okay? All right, just test it yourself. You'll see what I mean. Now, there's something else that I want to show you. I want to show you a little bit more of a scenario here. I'm going to create a billable expense. So here we go. Here's an expense, and we're going to pay Bob's Burger Joint. That's fine. Let's say we paid them. Sure. How about we paid them on the 1st, okay? Payment method was whatever, cash. That's fine. Category is going to be, let's just say meals. Travel meals, okay? We were traveling for Amy's job. Travel meal for Amy's job. There. Amount is going to be whatever you want to do. Let's just say it was $19, okay? And it is billable, right? Because this is a billable expense to Amy. Fine. We got to choose Amy here, and we'll save and close this. Now, if we come to the transaction list here in Amy's Bird Sanctuary, we'll see that billable expense charge, $19, okay? Note, it's not contributing to this open balance. You'll also note that this time charge is not contributing to this open balance. Why not? Well, it's because, come back to the date. It's because this has not been it's not been converted into an invoice. So you have it for your records that Amy has some billable charges and things we need to charge her for, but we haven't sent an invoice. So that's why it wouldn't show up on the customer statements. She's going to be very surprised if she sees that there's a balance that you've never invoiced her for. Get what I'm saying? If you want that to show up on your statements, you need to create the invoice, right, for these items. Okay, and just to prove that, why don't we go ahead and do our little delete and redo? So here we go. We're going to delete. Very easy. Deleted. And we make a new one. Statement. There we go. Today. Start of the year. Today. Balance forward. Amy's Bird Sanctuary. Save. There you go. How fast is that? There it is. We'll take a look. So it's the same. Even though we created a new expense, a billable expense to Amy, this has not changed because that is not going to reflect because we've never invoiced her for it. If we were to invoice her for it, you would see it here if we converted it to an invoice. Now, there's one other thing that I want to show you before we go forward. A refund. Okay, now let's just say that we refunded Amy for anything. It doesn't matter what. We can say this one, right, was paid. Here we have a $108 invoice, and then Amy paid it right here. Let's say for some reason we needed to refund Amy for $108. I want to show you how that's going to reflect on these statements. So let's just create a new one quickly. We'll go refund receipt. We'll choose Amy. Let's say that the refund was, how about on the 7th of this month, okay? And we paid her with a check. We refunded her with a check from our check, and we paid it out of our checking account, okay? This is all fine. Let's just say it was for design services, and again, it's $108, okay? Oops, I'm sorry. That's one. This one is 108. Now, we might get a little tax issue here because sometimes QuickBooks can be fussy in the test drive sample company, but you'll see no tax has been applied. We're going to go save and close. All right, there we go. Amount $108. That's good. And unfortunately, you'll see the refund here is for $116, and that's because of the tax issue. Again, the test drive account tries to force tax. That's not what I want. Let me just see if I can change this. 0. I want 0 tax, please. Okay, 108. That's right. Okay, there we go. All right, cool. All righty, so if we come to statements, and now we're going to generate a new balance forward customer statement. Same. This is the start of the year. Same. And save and close. There it is, right at the bottom. Okay, choose this. Now we see that refund receipt. You'll note that the balance is still the same. Now, if you're a bookkeeper, you understand why this would be, but if it's confusing, just note, right, this refund that we issued has nothing to do with this outstanding balance, right? This outstanding balance is because they have not fully paid this invoice right here. So it's great. Again, these customer statements are so useful because you can very clearly explain to customers how they have an open balance and how long things have been outstanding and all of that, right? Okay, cool. Now then, let's create another type. We'll create the second type of statement, which is an open item statement. Here we go. You'll note there's no period for this because, well, open items are open items. If they're open, okay? Open items mean they haven't been paid. So let's just go ahead and do save and close. And that's going to tell us how we're getting to this, okay? So we shall click on here. We'll see that there's one invoice for this amount, and we still have $239 open on this item. Now, how long has it been overdue, or when is it due? We can see that it's already between 1 and 30 days past due, okay? Great. So very self-explanatory. You're not going to see total received on this because it's just open items as per this statement date. And we see as well, if you wanted to click on this invoice, you could go take a look and explore the invoice, right? So good information. Let's go ahead and close that. Very straightforward. Last customer statement type. And this is kind of the trickiest one conceptually. Let's come to transaction statement. Now, you know what? Before I even generate this, I just want you to understand, okay? The transactions that occur between a customer and the business result in money flowing between us, right? That's really what this statement is trying to capture. Not so much when it's paid, but just the fact that we are transacting money. Keep that in mind, okay? Here we go. We're going to save and close. And what do we see right here? Transaction statement. Let's click on this. You'll note that even though the period is the beginning of the year and the end date is today, we see less items on here than the balance forward statement. What do we not see? We do not see payments. Why? Because this is more of a record, as I mentioned, of the monies that will or are or have flowed between the customer and the business. Now, I say between because it can go back and forth. As you see, we have a refund right here, and we have a credit memo as well, right? So it can go both ways. But the important thing is that this invoice kind of represents the entire transaction amount. So this is how we can, the customer, right, and ourselves as business owners, we can get a very clear picture of how much a customer is worth. Interesting, right? In a certain way, this, assuming nothing has occurred before this first of the year date that we selected, this is in fact showing us lifetime value of this customer, isn't it? Because this is how much we have already received or how much we plan to receive, because this one right here has not been completely paid off yet. We've still got an open balance, but total amount is right here, right? Very, very useful. Okay, cool. And of course I mentioned, how much we've invoiced them, but also how much we had to discount, refund, credit back to the customer, whatever. Here's, for that period, the value of the customer. Very interesting from a financial standpoint, right? Okay, now I'm going to show you how to create these statements. If you have a lot of statements out there and you want to isolate them without having to click into every customer, you can go to reports and you can get, you know what? Hey, before we do this, there's one little trick I want to show you. If we come to customers and we generate a statement for a time in the future, you're not going to find it in the area I'm about to show. So I want to make that very clear. I'm just going to go to open item because it's the simplest, and I'm going to choose tomorrow's date. Okay, today is the 10th, all right? I'm going to go save and close. Now, if you want to find all these, you can go to your statement list. You go to reports, you type in statement list. Here it is right here. You choose that. And here we go. We have the 4 invoices that we have played with. The 5th one that has a statement date of tomorrow is not here. If you need to access that, just come to customize, go to filter, and you'll choose the statement date range there. You'll have to extend the range to capture the statement date. And there we go. You saw it just popped up. Here it is, the 11th. And of course, you can click on any of these and you can see what those statements are. So you'll have all of your customer statements right here. Okay. I hope that was useful to you. If you want more training from me, of course, you can check out my videos. I also have a checklist, okay? It's a living document. Let's just call it a super checklist for bookkeeping. It's geared to help business owners and it's geared to help bookkeepers, okay? It's a lot of tips and tricks and things to avoid, and it will help you ensure that at any point your balance sheet, your profit and loss is ready to go to the tax preparer, okay? All right, great. So I hope that was useful to you. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider giving a like and a subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to grow it so that I can get the message out to as many people as possible that, here, my shop, bookkeepingformybusiness.com, is a trustworthy, skilled bookkeeping service, and we want to help a lot of great customers. So, hey, help me spread the word. And if you have anything that you'd like to add, anything that you'd like to see in future videos, please leave a comment. And beyond that, I wish you an awesome day, and hey, be the best.